All right, here we go. Welcome to Vinny Melkus Outdoors. I'm doing a just real quick. It's been a little while since I had a video, but I'm doing a U.S. one bass or U.S. Open one bass Lake Mead preview here because I'm getting ready to actually here in the next week or so probably head out that way. And it's always one of those. It's a big tournament. It's the biggest tournament out west, and so it's a big deal. If you win this thing, it's a career changer. And if you're not familiar with it, Google it, look it up, because it is the premier tournament out west. It's granted it's an open. It's not like a qualifying. You pay your entry fee or whatnot, but you are going up against some of the best anglers in the world, best anglers in the West, which are arguably some of the best anglers in the world. Plus guys from across the country, across the world, they come out and they fish this thing. And what it is Lake Mead a great fishery? I think it is a great fishery. I don't think for overall weight or it's not a big fishery. It's an interesting lake. It's a very dynamic lake. It is a great tournament lake. It humbles even the best anglers. You can't go out there and be a one-trick pony, and you can't go out there thinking you know that lake and do good every time. Granted, there is knowing the lake does help, but it is a great equalizer, is what they call it. Now, what I've seen, we have going into this year, it seems like there's a couple of semi-large tournaments for out west. They're not really large. We're talking about like 50 to under 100 boat tournaments. A couple big ones that are coming up right before this. So that kind of puts a little pressure. But this lake doesn't really hold large concentrations of fish in any given area. But I will say this last year. So this is I don't want to get too much into what I'm doing. I'm just trying to do a little preview. But last year I actually ran into probably the largest pod of largemouth that I've ever ran into in Lake Mead, or like a Lake Powell or something for that matter, a very canyon type reservoir. And they were just stacked in there. The only problem is they were, just quarter to half inch below of being a keeper. And I was, this year I'm like, well, now I have to go check that out, just because that year class fish should be keepers now. But that was the largest wad of fish I've ever seen there. Usually they're very scattered, and a lot of times you don't fish the same water on Lake Mead, and that's what I'm kind of predicting this year is it's going to be the similar. A lot of people go there and they think they're going to drop shot their way into something, and maybe you'll get a check, but it tends, the winning guy from what I've seen tends to have some sort of reaction style fishing method that wins this thing. Me, I don't want to. I'm not going to go into. I'm a finesse fisherman by trade, pretty much. I like to throw that drop shot. Last year, I actually got caught up into that, and then all those little fish really. I thought, hey man, there's got to be keepers in here. Something produced these smaller fish. There has to be, and of course, we went through like 60 to 70 fish, and my partner, I remember this because he's the one day he's like, or he's my second day partner. He's like, man, I know we didn't do very well, but that was the funnest day I've had in a long time. We just caught a lot of fish, and on Lake Mead that's kind of unheard of. But anyway, you got the Lake Mead is broke down. You got Overton Arm, and Vegas Wash, Benelli Bay, Greg's Basin, the Narrows, all these places that are well known. And any one of those could actually win a tournament. I look at that lake, it's like you can go to any one of those and you could win the tournament. There are those fish there. Up in the Overton tends to be the place where you go to win the tournament, but also there's been U.S. Opens won over by Vegas Wash and over in Greg's Basin and by Temple Bar. So you just you never know. But it's one of those things where making small choices. If you make the wrong choice once in this tournament, you're pretty much done. It's a game of ounces, but if you actually get lucky and get a decent fish, like a 4+ pounder, you're back in the game. It's a very up and down tournament. For me, coming off last year, I didn't do very well, but I actually was around where the winning fish were, and then I left, and then I went to the other side. So this year, I'm actually going to do less pre-fishing. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but actually when I pre-fished the whole lake last year, and I actually gave myself so many options that when I encountered a little resistance on my first strategy, which I should have just stayed with, I flipped the script and I went somewhere else. And granted, you could say, well, that's not a bad idea, because you're there to win it. You're not there to place 50th or whatever at the U.S. Open. You're there to win that thing. So, trying to, roll the dice isn't necessarily a bad thing. But this year I'm going to do a little bit less pre-fishing. I'm going to be a little more in tune with what's going on, and really try to dial in an area of the lake and figure out if I can find something that way. And if it doesn't work out, then we always got to be flexible and then probably run and gun. But I would like to limit myself to a certain area of the lake, whether that be in the Overton, upper Overton, close to the Narrows, or Vegas Wash or something like that, and really key in on that and see if I can find something that those fish are doing. Those areas of the lakes are different. If you go to Vegas Wash, you can get into some really, a little bit more off-colored water. If you go closer to Calvo Bay, it's super clear. Go up to Overton, you can get some off-colored water. If you go further down towards the Narrows, it's super clear as well. And then you got a lot more smallmouth over there. Then you go to the, Temple Bar or whatnot, and then Vanelli Bay, I think they got that closed off. So if you have the capability to get in there, chances are you're going to be in somewhere where there's less pressure. But it's always interesting to see what people are able to come up with here. Now bait wise, it's pretty standard. Everybody knows you throw a drop shot there a lot of times, or you throw reaction. Spinner baits are good at certain parts of that lake. Depending on if you got some cloud cover or wind. I'm going to have a jig tied on for sure. Last year I think the biggest fish we caught was on a jig, and it's actually fairly shallow. And then I like to throw a split shot there. In my opinion, when the fish are a little scattered like that, I can cover a little bit more water than a drop shot. I'll have a drop shot. So that's split shot, drop shot, jig, and of course some kind of reaction bait. And it depends on what area of the lake, how I'm going to determine that. And I might even throw a blade bait, because I'm really big into blade baits now, and I think that's something that's a little outside the norm. But we'll see what happens. Like I said, if you haven't really followed it, I'd suggest following it. I think BTL, Bass Talk Live, will be there. They did it last year. You're going to see it. There's, like I said, anglers from all over the world are going to be there competing, and it's interesting. It's a game of ounces there. Sure, somebody can come in there with a large sack, but to do that multiple days is pretty hard on Mead. So you're going to be, if you can get a limit, that's incredible. And then if you can get a limit that's over 10 pounds, then you're in the game. So if you can successfully every day average about 12 pounds in there, you're going to be in contention. If you get anything below that, you might get a check. Anything above that, and you're doing super awesome. So anyway, that was it's just a quick preview. I'll probably talk a little bit more specific. I got some bait reviews that I'm going to be doing, and then when I'm out there, I'll probably be filming some stuff. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. Bye.